Hello everybody, I'm Nora Burrows. Today we are going to be working on our Quilt of Valor. If you haven't checked out episodes 1 and 2, go ahead and do that. This is episode 3 of this quilt we're making for a veteran. I love this project, but it has been a while since we worked on it, and part of why it has been so long is because I was putting together pieces in episodes 1 and 2, and then I kind of got stuck. I kind of didn't know what to do next. So instead of pushing through and then just making choices, I just put it aside for a little bit. But I have been thinking about it for over the past couple months, and I have a couple ideas. I have quite a few ideas. One of which we're going to do today. I went out and bought a bunch more fabric for this project. Which is kind of funny because in episode 1, I had gone out and bought all of that fabric for this Quilt of Valor. I said I wasn't going to buy any more fabric for the Quilt of Valor because I had so much that I said if I run into any problems where I need more, I'm just going to use what I have, I'll improvise. But I will say that since then, because it's been a couple months since I was working on the Quilt of Valor, I've been working on other projects and I used a bunch of that fabric, that initial fabric, in some other projects. So it's a little bit depleted, so I went out and bought more fabric for this Quilt of Valor. So I'm going to show you that fabric and then we'll jump right in and keep working on this quilt. Here are the fabrics I have left over from that initial haul a couple months ago when we started working on this project. These are the two of my favorites here with the eagles. Actually, 3 have eagles. So I have these still, and then this I bought for a different project. I had a ton of this, and then I only have a little bit left, but I thought this could work well for the Quilt of Valor. And this is my new stuff, so it's pretty wrinkled because I always wash my fabric when I get it home from the quilt shop. But I have some yardage and some fat quarters here. So as you can see from, this initial fabric, I had a lot of reds and some creams, but I didn't have any more blues and navies because I use a lot of navy, so all my navy was depleted. But I have this white background with the navy little diamonds and polka dots. I think this might be a grunge. So here's a blue grunge, and I have this red grunge from my initial fabric haul. I was trying to stay away from floral prints, and this one is kind of a floral, but it's a small enough floral that I felt like it was okay. So I have that, and then this is the last piece of yardage I have. And I like that all these blues are a little bit different. For fat quarters, how many fat quarters did I get of this? I got 2 of this kind of cream color because, I want to do the red, white, and blue, but I'm doing more of a, navy, red, cream kind of palette. And even the reds are a little bit more, some of them are more burgundy. I have this red and white. I have a bunch of those. I think I have 6 of those. I would have gotten this and this in yardage, as well as pretty much I would have gotten all the fat quarters in yardage, but they didn't have it. They only had the fat quarters, so that's what I got. And then this is part of what we're going to use today, which I'm really excited about. So I got a bunch of those fat quarters there. This will be perfect. And then this one is more of a burgundy. You can kind of see it against this red. It's a polka dot. So let's see, what are we gonna do? When I initially made this eagle, and this eagle has been stored for a while, so it's a little wrinkled, but when I initially made this eagle, it's an applique eagle that I did in episode 1, I wasn't sure how I was feeling about it. I wasn't sure if I was gonna put it on the front or the back or not use it at all, but I've decided I actually really love it. So I want this to be the center of the quilt. It is a rectangle, so I need to build up and down from it. So what I'm thinking is that I want to add kind of a thin strip of red. Because this background is so burgundy, I don't want the whole quilt to have to be burgundy. But if I put a red up against it, and it's, too thick of a red, it's gonna look weird. Here, let's scooch this down so we can see a little bit better. So I wanna do just a tiny strip of red, and then maybe a bigger strip here, like that, just on the top and the bottom of the eagle. I've had a little bit of a change of plans here. Instead of putting the red right up against the burgundy, I just thought that would kind of get lost. So I'm going to do a border around the whole thing of this cream and blue print, which I think will be easier on the eye. Now, because I only have scraps of this fabric, you'll see that I'm gonna have to piece a bunch of this together. Almost every side, including over here, will have an extra seam, which is fine. That actually doesn't bother me at all. When I initially started this, I said to you all that I really wanted this to be kind of the best of the best because of the fact that this was going to be going to a veteran. And I still feel that way, the quality of the work to be really good. However, having extra seams, for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why, doesn't actually bother me. It makes it feel more handmade. It makes it feel like I was using what I had, which, represents a lot. So I'm gonna piece some of these together and attach them onto the eagle. I've had another change of ideas here, or plan. It's starting to become difficult for me to fit this whole piece in the camera here, but let me show you kind of what I'm thinking. So I have this full border of the cream and blue that goes all the way around the eagle. And then I attached this red strip here that only goes along the top and the bottom. And what I'd like to do, instead of adding the red strip all the way around and this stripe all the way around, I think I'm going to just have the red stripe along the top and the bottom. And I'm going to now add a set of stars, pieced stars, a strip along the top and the bottom. Then I'll add another strip of this red along the top and the bottom. This will allow this to start kind of making this more square. Instead of being a long rectangle, it will be more square. And then I'll take this and do a full strip around the whole piece. Now, before I go any further, what I realized is that when I appliqued this is one of the first pieces I've ever appliqued in my life, and so it does have some challenges, but what I would like to do is to wash this whole piece in the machine, because I think that it's going to shift and that some of these pieces may kind of separate a little bit, which is fine. I can just go in and kind of hand sew them, the wings, feathers back together. And with this applique, I used the fusible interfacing, which makes this kind of a stiff piece. But once I put it in the washing machine, that fusible interfacing will start to kind of disintegrate a little bit and it'll make it softer. So I'm going to put this piece in the washing machine before I do anything else, before I create my stars or anything. And let's see what happens. Washing this at the stage that I did has proven to be problematic. Now there are some good things and then I'll show you the problems. So this is much softer now, and some of these pieces did come up, which is what I thought might happen, which is why I washed this. So I'm gonna hand sew some of this down, and then you can see all this white is pieces of the interfacing. So I can either kind of sew over that hand stitch or take a little fabric marker and blend that to make it the correct color. So I can work better with this applique piece now. The unfortunate part is, as you can see up here, I should have washed this once I had appliqued the eagle onto this burgundy stripe. I should have washed it at that point before I attached anything else on, because now you can see what happened is a lot of this came unraveled and created a big clump of thread, which then got caught on some pieces here and pulled. So there's a piece up there and a piece down here, and I can't just kind of stitch this back together, I don't think. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's just too close to the edge there. I don't think I have enough to work with. So what I'm going to do is cut off the border and then re-sew the whole thing back on. Now, while I was washing this, I did create some of these stars, and I'm pretty happy with them. They're a little larger than I think would look good, because remember, they're going to be on top of the eagle as well as a strip on the bottom. So I was thinking I would do 3 on the top or maybe 5 on the top. But now that I'm looking at this all together, I may redo this and make it a little smaller. I'm also not sure how I feel about this kind of red and white fabric in the background, so I'm gonna have to think about that. It is the next day and I fixed up the eagle. I seam ripped all of the borders off and re-sewed this tan border on, but I am not going to put that red border along the top and the bottom. I think that everything coming apart was the universe telling me that red border is not supposed to be there. So I had, as I mentioned, created this star, and I decided two things. One being that the color scheme of this star doesn't go with the rest of the quilt. It's just that red and white just doesn't really go. And the size was just too big. So instead of this star, I created these stars, which when I had the fabrics together, it seemed like a big enough contrast that it would work. But when I sewed these stars, I realized that it just blended. Like you couldn't really tell what was going on. You know, if you put them across the top here in a line, they just, the contrast between the star and the background was not enough to make it really stand out. So you can kind of see what it would look like. If the light blue background had been a little bit lighter, I think it would have worked fine, but it wasn't. So I decided to make some red ones instead, and the red is a better contrast. You can see here, and you can also see that in the center of the red is an eagle on these. You can see that. So this does stand out a little bit better, but I felt like it was just a lot. It was very, you know, loud coming off of this big eagle to have these big, loud red stars. So what I ultimately decided to do, I made some white ones here, and again, you can see the eagle in the fabric, which I think is very cool. And so I'm gonna put a white one with some red ones next to it. I'll put a little strip of background in between each one of these star blocks. And then I'll put these blue ones on the end. And I'll do that for the top and the bottom. So here you can kind of see what it'll look like. We'll get this star out of there. And then I will have a strip of the background blue on the top and the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that together. And here we have it. I'm really happy with this. I think it's looking great. It's kind of funny because I noticed that this fabric on the wing here is the same as the fabric along the border. It's just a different colorway. So that's kind of fun. This piece here is about 29 wide by 31 long. So that's a nice size. We're gonna keep going. I have lots more ideas. This is it for now. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.